Hello, this is Jeremy Webster with Collector's Maze, and I am here today with voice actress extraordinaire, Melissa Hutchinson. Melissa, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm trying to figure out, firstly, hold on, this is not a great way to start this, but let's see. I just want this, if I click that,
Uh-huh.
there we go. It's still recording, right?
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, good. There was like a bubble, and I was like, I can't really see anybody. I can't see myself. This is not going well.
Oh, yep, I know what you're talking
I
about.
swear I'm present now. I'm here. I'm happy here. It is lovely to finally get to meet you and to have this chat. We've been playing the, calendar game of trying to make this work, and I'm so grateful to be here. Hi,
That's
everyone.
that's the thing with being an actor is a lot of times you go where the work is and at the time the work takes you. So scheduling can be an interesting thing.
You would think that we have no excuse, because I mean, one of the things I'm so grateful for in the voiceover industry is actually, compared to a normal work schedule, 9 to 5, and the commute and all the things, there's actually a lot of downtime. So I don't I don't know what my problem is, but life and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm very grateful that you guys were able to work with me, and we're finally here. Woo!
Your fans might know you fairly recently from the Walking Dead series for the character of Clementine. Man, what goes into that character?
What goes into it?
Yeah, like, you might get a script, so the character is such and such, but when you read the script, like you have to interpret that into that character vocally. What does that process sort of look like for you? Look
Well,
like is a bad way to put it because it's pretty much, probably a mental thing, but
well, it is. Yeah, I mean that. I mean, in acting in general, a lot of whether it be on camera or voiceover or stage, is you or you are obviously playing make believe,
mhm.
except you've been afforded a script and a background and a character description. And my journey with Clementine. I mean, it's like here's where it started, here's where it ended. The obvious thing here is I'm not, in season 1, she was a small child.
Uh-huh.
I was very much so a grown adult doing this voice. Um, so it was when we got these scripts, I'd already done a bunch of work for Telltale Games, Sam and Max, Back to the Future, Nelson Tether, Pencil Agent, one of my favorites. I know I'm forgetting one that at the top, but anyways, so I was used to how the scripts play out and it being choice driven, and how the playable character you're playing as has different reactions, kind of the choose your own adventure,
Right.
story driven, dialogue rich interactions. They're more like, it was more like reading through an animated script or an on camera, sequenced performance, like an animated series. So when The Walking Dead came out, I was already super into the show. I think it had only been 2 seasons. Hadn't read the comics yet. Sorry, don't hate. And they sent along the auditions. At this point, it was mostly a Bay Area audition call, because Telltale Games was in Marin County, very small little indie game company. So I get this audition and I do see the concept artwork for Clem, and this sweet, 7, 8-year-old ish child. And, the writers really nailed down the audition script and the description of how they wanted her to be. It had to be a realistic performance. It couldn't have been like, I'm Clementine, and people are like, that's obviously an adult doing that voice. And
Yeah.
it's tricky when you're working with kids, because it's like, to have her be this main character alongside Lee was kind of a risk, because you either love kids, no offense kids, I love kids, but you either love them or you're like, oh my God, this kid is so annoying.
The curse of the 1990 Dick Tracy movie. It's like, if you remember that, and we were, and I would have been whatever age I was at that time, because time.
Yeah.
But I remember being all hyped up for this Dick Tracy movie. Came around the same time as the Batman movie, And then I actually saw it, and it was like, you thought it was going to be, you know, this awesome Dick Tracy fighting crime thing. Instead, it was like this Dickensian child thing. It's like, that's totally not really what I wanted from this. And yeah,
It's
and
unattractive. It turns the viewer off.
it can be, particularly, you know, The Walking Dead has such a gritty realism take on its universe that
Right.
it can have like children characters like that, and as long as they're handled, I think the word I'm looking for is congruently with the universe, it
Right.
makes perfect sense. But like, you sign somebody up for this, you know, this big action adventure thing, and it turns into a Dickens parable.
Totally, totally. Well, and it's, you know, the cool thing about The Walking Dead is, in general, is, and I remember when the show came out, I was like, I mean, I love horror, the horror genre, so I would watch it regardless. But when I was watching it, I was like, oh man, this is like totally, like, the zombies are effective, it's scary, but the connection that we're building with these characters
Mhm.
and the depth of these characters in these super, like, just going to those emotional places, what was really attractive to me. So when auditioning for, you know, Clem, um obviously there's a little bit of an age difference in my voice, and I don't know, I just kind of honed in on how kids talk, but they can kind of stumble or breathe, or they don't, you know, things just don't, they come out differently than like
Uh-huh.
as an adult who's got mine, I know how to speak very well. Um, so it was, you know, and it wasn't like this, like, I nailed it. And then instantly I was this, you know, character, and I knew exactly what I was doing. I actually had to go through a few rounds because they were auditioning other extremely talented adult actors, and children as well. But ultimately, directing a small child into a place of like, okay, now visualize your mommy and daddy are walking by and they're dead, you know, like, just the amount of pain that this child is experiencing, um and her behavior is, you know, I've lived life, so I knew how to get into that place. And
Mhm.
this is a super huge compliment to myself, because I don't know if I was ever nearly as cool or awesome as Clem, but there were bits of my childhood and my demeanor, just, you know, wanting to help out, and, you know, being non-confrontational, but just being, like, you know, cohesive with the adults around me, that I kind of put into that performance. So becoming Clem was an amazing experience. And you know, I speak for all the actors, especially in that first season. We had no idea. I mean, we knew how special it was as actors reading the script, but we had no idea that it would just, you know. And then I got to keep going with her and age with her, and it's just, it's such a, you know, precious experience for me, that there really are no words. There's so much gratitude, that comes with my journey, and it's just been, it was really, really cool.
What brought you into voice acting? How'd you get your start?
I watched a lot of cartoons. I mean, I did. Ultimately, I mean, me and my sister, especially my sister Susan, we used to. I mean, we've always done the voices, and, you know, stuffed animals had different voice. Everything has a voice and characters, and I mean, I was just always like, really, without even acknowledging or thinking, oh, there's someone in a recording booth doing the voice of Scooby-Doo. You know, it was just,
Uh-huh.
um, and not to say that all kids aren't totally amused by cartoons, but I was really fascinated by the tonality, and how people got to do these voices and imitating it. So, I mean, I think from a very, very young age, I've always just been into voice work, singing, but I really wanted to be an actor. It was on my list. It was like veterinarian, race car driver, jockey, horse jockey. That went, you know, when I
Yeah.
learned about that industry, it fell. And also, I'm short enough, short enough. Anyways, but I did pursue acting when I was, I think when I was 10. This is way back when. A lot of people now won't understand this. The younger generation, I actually looked up auditions in the newspaper,
Yeah.
and I got my first role. It was A Christmas Carol. And, I got my first role in a community theater play. And so throughout my childhood and high school, I did a lot of acting, a lot of stage, mostly musicals. I think just to kind of jump back into the youth, when The Simpsons came out on the Tracy Ullman show, again, aging myself, and hearing Bart Simpson, I don't even know if at that time when The Simpsons came out that I realized it was Nancy Cartwright. I don't know if I knew that. I was like 12 or 13. But again, it was one of those voices where it's like, oh my God, she's just totally nailed down this little boy voice, and like, and then she's still doing it. Like, it's crazy. And that's at the age where I was like, oh, I would love to do that for a job. Like, how cool would it be to be the voice of Bart Simpson? So that's where the seed was definitely planted at that age. But then later on, I lived life. After high school, I spent, some years just living life, being young, doing young people things. Mm-hmm. And my mid-20s, I swear this won't take up the whole hour. I was working a job that I never really did the school thing, just didn't align with me. And so, I was working in the restaurant industry, and I had a great time. I mean, I met some of the best people in my life, but I was a manager of a restaurant, and I was commuting every morning, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? I just felt misplaced. And I had a friend who was doing the commercial tags for Sprint. Right now get Sprint PCS for blah, 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 blah,
Oh, yeah.
I was just like, oh, God, that's right. And then the seed was remember. I was like, I need to get back into acting, and I need to pursue this, and it's voiceover. That's right. This is what I need to be doing. And I had some lifelines that that helped me get into the industry. One of my very best friends, Nate Tico, is my agent in San Francisco. We went to high school together. So I mean, I definitely had I didn't have to jump through some of the hoops that a lot of upcoming voice actors have to go through to get an agent. But that's it, man. I've been doing it for 22, 21, I don't know, not too many, a lot of very awesome years.
You won a Spike Best Voice Actor in 2012?
Yeah. 2012. That was crazy.
Did you actually go to a show for that, or you were there?
Totally. Yeah. Red carpet, the whole shebang, and it's I felt like little Melissa from Missouri. I was in Los Angeles and on the red carpet, and everybody's doing and I'm like, I just had this look of wow, this is amazing. Actually, they on my way down to LA, I had got a call from one of the producers, and they're like, hey, on the red carpet, we'd love to take about 10 minutes of time to interview you. And I'm like, oh, okay. I just figured it was standard for anybody who was nominated. And they totally just dropped it on me. Before we even went in, it was, I was with Dave Fenoy, who did not win. He should have won. Nolan North is amazing. He got the award, but I was a little oh man, Lee. And they totally just on the red carpet, I went to do this interview, and they were like, and just you won. And I was like, oh crap.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a picture of me somewhere, and I'm literally, you can see on my face that I was just what the.
Yeah, and you kind of put it you kind of put it, little you from Missouri, as you put it, and it's kind of inconceivable in a way to imagine if it's not only an unfamiliar, uncomfortable environment almost. And I'm not saying uncomfortable as in you didn't like being there, but it's sort of like being in, it's almost like an alien planet, and somebody showed up to you and told you won the lottery. What do you have to say about it?
Well, no, they immediately started, and it wasn't, they immediately started. I wanted the female reporter, it was so long ago. She was totally just feeling my excitement, but the guy was obviously had some questions, and what was it like playing it? And I'm just still it was great. Like, I mean, but it was super exciting. I mean, that was the last year of the Spike TV VGAs, actually.
Was it
I had
really?
the last trophy. Yeah, it turned in at that point. That's like Jeff Keighley took. I mean, he didn't take over. Spike TV stopped doing it. Jeff Keighley started doing the Game Awards.
That's right. It switched over to being a purely video game thing, didn't it? Yeah.
So, I mean, it was amazing. And again, at that point, one doesn't get into voiceover, maybe now more so, nowadays more so. It's an anonymous. There's a lot of anonymity in this industry, or at least then it was. So to have that happen, and then with that success, all of a sudden I'm going to conventions like everywhere, all over the United States, across the pond, just to again, it's, you don't get into voiceover to walk down the street and, hey, Melissa Hutchinson, right? So it was just this surreal experience of going to conventions and meeting fans who were just so grateful for this work you did, and this character that I love so much, getting to talk with people and hear their stories of what this game, how it brought them together with friends and family, and how it changed or touched their lives in whatever way it did, was just, oh God, it's it's still to this day such an amazing experience for me.
There is a real interesting sort of inversion between what people think of as like a standard movie star. I mean, like Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, he's not connected necessarily to a character. He's Tom Cruise, and if you want to get really cliche about it, 80s Schwarzenegger, his voice, they changed the name, but the character's largely the same across all the movies. But
right.
the fans of a lot of voice actors and such, when they have cons and such, it seems to me from the people I've spoken to, is that the connection is the character first, and they meet the person, which sometimes is really cool. And if I think somebody I recently interviewed played a villain in something voice acting wise, and when they started meeting fans were like telling them, they'd have fans tell how horrible. Yeah,
you're like, I am an actor, but yeah, I mean that's a huge compliment. That's, I mean, it's or you mean they were saying literally that they thought they were horrible, or they were like,
no,
oh,
but
so horrible.
there was kind of an interesting thing where the fans sort of had to disconnect from their from the perception of the person that they'd gotten through the media, through what they'd seen in it, which I thought was really, really interesting in a way.
Oh yeah. Well, and I mean, this is also the very cool thing about voiceover. Obviously, as I pointed out, I am not a small child. Clinton could be my daughter very easily. But it's, there is especially in character acting, in voiceover, you can be, I'm Clem, and then in League of Legends, I'm Ash. So I'm this like, super badass, frost arrow shooting, hot lady, whatever, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She wears like a corset and she's in battle. Anyways, so I mean, it's just, or I'm like a little boy in that, or I play a witch, or whatever it is. It's like there's and when I do go to conventions, it's not all Walking Dead. I've actually met quite a few people like, I haven't actually played that game, but I loved you, and so
I think IMDb had something like 78 credits to you. I mean, and they're all over the place.
Again, I watched a lot of cartoons. They are all over the place. Yeah, it's it's such a cool industry. And I think one of the differences too is with on camera and with your physical appearance. I mean, obviously, for whatever it is, and sadly or awesomely or however you want to view it, you do obviously have to physically appear in whatever standard Hollywood is gonna throw you, or whatever, not necessarily, doesn't have to be a negative thing. You have to look the part, and
Yeah.
in voiceover you just have to sound the part. So yeah, you could just, it's just such a huge amount of work that we can audition for, as opposed to on camera where there's more specifics.
Yeah. Calling for 6'2".
Yeah, damn it.
Yeah, is her name Brienne on the Game of Thrones, where she's like
Yeah.
an Amazon, and
Yeah, she's like six. She is like six. I saw her on the tube in London. Actually, it was very weird. She's like at least 6 feet, maybe 6'1", maybe 6'2".
and she's transitioning from that role to Lucifer, I want to say, in the Neil Gaiman adaptation, Sandman. So like she's going from this like very hardcore, role to this much more elegant role. It's really kind of interesting to watch that sort of transition.
Yeah.
But that's just me babbling. I just thought it was interesting.
No, I think it's well. And if I were to be an on-camera actor, which is definitely not anything I would turn my nose up at. It's I would hope to be the kind of actor that could play a dynamic range, the shapeshifter, if you will. So, not get pigeonholed into a character actor, but just on camera. So I love seeing that. I love seeing actors' journeys, especially when they play such, like Brianna Tarth is like, I mean, she's iconic,
Yeah.
Her role in Game of Thrones is. So I'll look forward to seeing what she does in Sandman, right?
Yeah, Sandman.
Yeah.
Neil Gaiman. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, it is kind of interesting, and so many actors get pigeonholed. I think there was one of the actors who did Doctor Who in the 80s, Peter Davison. He was a young blonde guy. He was kind of against type for that role because all the previous actors had sort of been older guys, 40 or older.
Right.
And he was in his, I want to say he was like 30. I could be wrong. But he asked a guy who played the role in the 60s, Patrick Troughton, what his advice was on that role, because that's such an iconic role in Britain. And Troughton told him, take the part, but leave after 3 years, because if you don't, like the guy before him had, Tom Baker, then it's going to trail you your entire career. You're never going to escape. In some degree, you can't escape it anyway. But by immediately moving on to another thing, he didn't get stuck as for the rest of his life as playing whatever, a nebbish sort of nerd hero. And that's kind of, and so that's kind of an interesting thing. I imagine that element of acting you have to worry about, whereas voice acting, you can be a lot more chameleon-esque.
Totally. Yeah, I think it is much more of a battle. Well, David Tennant did it. I mean, but it's David Tennant.
Yeah, he's just amazing.
Can go wrong. He's so dynamic, but it does take more work, and there are so many on-camera actors who they just get locked in because people can't. They go into an audition and like, I'm sorry, I think I read an article about the guy. I know we're going totally off track, but he did the "Can you hear me now" commercials, whatever.
Oh yeah, that dude.
And like he does a lot of improv and he did a lot of comedy, but like after that commercial, and this isn't I made millions, but still, as an actor, even if you make a crap ton of money, you don't want your career to end once that campaign ends. And he would go to auditions and they're all like, I'm sorry, all I can see is the "Can you hear me now" guy. And it's just like, oh, so it's a blessing.
Yeah.
But and yeah. So it's an interesting industry as far as that goes, for sure. And again, voiceover, thankfully we don't have that happen too much. So I haven't experienced it, even after playing Clem, which is she's such an iconic character. It's not like, people are like, well, we want a kid for this role, but just when you walk in the room, all I can think about is she's Clementine. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that one of your earliest roles was in Sailor Moon.
And oddly enough, that actually was Sailor Moon is a bazillion years ago itself.
Mhm.
But that was recent. That was I mean, I don't know where it's at on the Wikipedias and IMDb. Maybe it's weirdly down at the bottom, but that
It's
was only
probably
a
they're
few.
probably rating it by the time of the production, or as opposed to the time that the work was actually done. I would
Right.
imagine that was something.
It was before the COVIDs. I know that, but it was only like 4 years ago that I recorded that.
That's kind of an iconic anime in itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly the most knowledgeable person on anime because it's not my thing, but it's my kids' thing.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and my daughter watched the Sailor Moon series. Like, was that something when you approached it that you knew was sort of an iconic property, or?
Oh, for sure. Even though I wasn't someone who, sorry if I'm disappointing people by saying this, but I'm also not really, I've done quite a bit of anime, but it's not really my thing. My nieces are all about it. Um, but Sailor Moon is huge. I mean, my goodness. Even people who I hate anime have heard of Sailor Moon. And that was really cool because I think that was, again, don't judge me on my information here, and I don't have Google in front of me. That was like the final season to be dubbed into English of
Mhm.
that particular chunk of the series. I know there were so many offshoots in Sailor Moon, but I think that was the last one to get dubbed in. It was a little controversial. And I don't know if I almost feel like that had something to do with it, because it was my character
Mhm.
is, a starfighter female, but her and the other, her other two starfighter characters, totally screwing this up. I'm so pissing off anime fans everywhere right now. Like, don't you even know your character? I do, I swear. But they're females, but then they disguise themselves as teenage boys to come down to Earth, and they're in high school with Sailor Moon and her friends. So, and then there's of course the love interest, and the physical tension between Sailor Moon and my character. And that was a little like, but wait, they're ladies and now they're boys. And I think it was in that time when
Oh, that was controversial at that time.
yeah, that was like, that was a little too racy.
I- It's
So,
it's one of those sort of one of those weird interrelationships between acting as a character, and it doesn't matter, I suppose, if it's voice or whatever. But for example, like when Malcolm McDowell did that Star Trek movie where Kirk died, he was
mm,
getting hate mail. I guess he got hate mail for this for years.
mm,
Um, and it's like, I didn't kill Captain Kirk. I was literally a person in a role doing something. But that's kind of weird the way some fans will, latch on to that. It's just a job, and in some
it's
way it's
it's
yeah, it's a credit to the performance, that
right.
they felt so emotional about it, but in the end, you're pointing your finger at a cloud.
Right. It's like the episode of Extra. I don't know if you watched Extras, Ricky Gervais show Extras. There's
Oh yeah,
Sir
yeah,
Ian
yeah.
McKellen has the episode where he's like, "You do know I'm not a wizard." Sorry, that was me.
that's,
He's
that's
and Ricky's, yeah, like, but he's like literally, it's basically pointing down. Yeah, I've been at conventions where I can't remember which character on The Walking Dead it was. Oh, who was it? It was one of the Jeez, I'm totally spacing out, but it was one of, like Negan's people from the show. And it was a younger person, so bless their heart. But yeah, when this young person met the actor, they were literally, I think I was at a table close by, and they're just like legitimately having this visceral reaction to like, how could you have done that to, Rick or whatever. And then he was rolling with it. He was just definitely rolling with it, but it was just like, I'm like, yeah, there is and again, that's a credit to the acting. So
bit of an awkward moment.
Yeah.
But people get they make connections in that way. It's like well, I mentioned Doctor Who earlier. We had a convention in town here where that actor Peter Davison was the like guest of honor or what, and he was on the PBS channel when I was a kid, a little kid. He was one of the actors from that time, and I, like you're saying, a visceral reaction. I had actually a thing where, because I was helping with the staff on that convention, he was just at his table, and you know how you walk by someone and you make eye contact for a second, okay? And I had that eye contact moment, and it was like the 5-year-old woke back up for a split second, and it was a weird.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
that's the doctor, and
Right.
so this like weird little visceral reaction. Of course,
Uh-huh.
I didn't walk over and go, ah.
Right. You could have. I mean, that's the thing too, is like, that's the thing when you meet actors who just take themselves so seriously. It's like, you get to play make believe for a living. And
Yeah.
don't go to conventions if you're going to be irritated by people honoring your performance, whether, you know what I mean? Like we're, all very fortunate to be doing what we're doing, and so I think especially, but I'm the same way. I mean, I've only had a handful of people, and it's not that I don't admire fellow actors, but I don't have, I don't know, there has been a few people, and of course now I'm not gonna remember a one. It's Giancarlo Espinosa is one of them, where you're like, ha, 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 geek out and just like, what do I say? And someone's like, oh, well, just come meet him, come, he's super cool, come to the table. And I'm like, you want me to go to the table? And then you just say like 8 stupid things and walk away and go, oh my God, what did I just say?
What did I just say?
Idiot.
But
yeah,
this was an opportunity, and I feel like I was.
Yeah, I just blew it entirely. Like, yeah, I think I did make him laugh, which I was like, I made him laugh, but whatever. Anyways, so yeah, no, I totally get that, and that again means that they're super effective at the characters they play, and it's such a huge honor to get to meet people and have them. I mean, it's not, this doesn't come from a place, and have them like love you. This is not from a place of ego. It's what we do for a living. So to meet people who it's affected your life, or you remember it, or oh yeah, you have this experience. It's really cool.
It's the day job, yeah. Which is actually one of the really awesome things about it. It's just the day job.
Yeah, it's my day job.
Yeah. One of my favorites to point out in terms of voice actors, and when people sort of don't quite, because for a lot of people, while they might be fans of voice actors or whatever, and it's like you were saying earlier, is that you more see the character than you do the person. One of my favorites to like point out to people is the voice of Lisa Simpson. Oh, what is her name? The name's not hitting me. Yeardley Smith. Yeardley Smith. And she's been Lisa Simpson forever. It's like, okay, so you know that character. So there's this movie she did before called Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And she's the she's the wife, and she's the shrillest character I think that's ever been in a movie.
Literally sounds like that when she talks. That's her natural, like.
Yeah. Curtis.
Yeah.
So, and
she was also in The Legend of Billie Jean, another 80s like.
That's right, she was. I haven't thought about that one in a really long time.
Amazing. I love that movie.
Making the gears turn on that one. Yeah, I had to actually think a second. Wow.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You've met your match, sir.
Welcome to 1984 again.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. So what are you working on these days? Anything you got to tell us coming up?
It's one of those things that it's like I do have stuff. Most of it, I'm DB myself right now. A lot of it is stuff I can't talk about. I have like 3 or 4 games I've been working on that will be released within the year or 2. It's been really cool. It's always great to, have new content and new characters, and a lot of the stuff I've been working on has been really cool and I'm super excited about it. But unfortunately, yeah,
You
it's a
can't
little,
talk about it right now.
I can't talk about it. Some commercial work hasn't been released yet. And there's clients that I've worked for bazillions of years that I still do work for. I do a lot of children's like interactive stuff, where, push the button and make the thing talk, so that's ongoing work. And but yeah, unfortunately now I'm like, is there anything? You're the one that looked me up. I mean, it's hard because sometimes games release and it's not that I'm not on it, but I don't know like when these things release. I'm being horrible. I'm actually like, I'm going for it. I'm looking. I know that I did some more stuff for Riot with my character Ash. I also do the voice of Timo. So those have been, that's another game that it's one of these things where it's just like huge, and the amount of people playing League of Legends is insane. And
yeah,
it's insane. So getting to be a part of that is pretty awesome. Like, I don't even know how to use IMDb.
It's gotten really kind of weird because its hyperlinks on it aren't obvious anymore. And that's me being picky because I'm a website manager for a local university. But I hate a hyperlink that I can't tell is a hyperlink.
So Tales from Runeterra, don't mess with the Yordles. There's Timo, that was a short. I was in Archibald's Next Big Thing, which is an animated series. Tony Hale is the star of, and it's based off of his book Archibald's Next Big Thing. The Big Con video game I just did, that's through Skybound actually. And WarioWare, I'm not the voice in 9 Volts. And there's a really cool other thing that's listed called Fairy Tale Forest, which I hope eventually gets released. And that was, Mel Brooks. And I mean, like, I wasn't, this is the thing that kind of sucks about voiceover. Like, you were in a movie with Mel Brooks. I'm like, yeah, we actually didn't get to meet each other, but like Jane Lynch and,
wow,
a cast that's insane. So I have a part in that, which when it's released, it's already on IMDb, so I'm talking about it. Hopefully I don't get in trouble about this.
I saw you did some work on Diablo III.
A billion years ago. That was another one of the games where I recorded that. I don't know. I don't know how long ago. It was a long time ago.
I think that game just had its 10th anniversary.
Did it Diablo 3 or Diablo? Yeah. Diablo 3.
Yeah.
Well, when I recorded that, I just do like literally like creature sounds in that. So I don't know which creatures. And when I recorded it, they weren't allowed to say what the title was. I was like, okay. And this is when Blizzard was in the Bay Area. It was a long time ago because now they're in LA.
Yeah, they've done so many changes in that company.
There's been a lot of changes, and again, they couldn't talk about the title, and I was all right. But it was like 6 years after that recording session is when the game came out and I got credited for it. So I forgot. And I was at IMDb and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, Diablo. That's the Blizzard.
That one thing they were working on. That's got to be really weird and particularly because that was so huge. That you do this work, you don't know the title, and half a decade later it drops. And you may or may not even know if they ever did anything with it. And then suddenly find out, oh, I'm in the biggest PC game on the planet.
Right.
Okay, that's got to be the strangest feeling.
I think that there are some shifts happening with that. I know that there was something in the union, and pardon my sounding ignorant. There was a thing with, I mean, I understand too, because, with the social media, all it takes is an actor to blah, blah, and then all of a sudden, like, they're making, I don't know, The Last of Us 4, and people are, and it just, it could totally just blow the whole thing. So I get the secrecy, but there was something going around that saying that actors should at least be able to know what title they're working on, or I don't know, there was something.
I guess it makes sense because if say you had a position on if you had a role that you were going to get royalties for on a property in some aspect or kickbacks for, but you don't know what the property is, then if you ever needed to actually have like the Black Widow lawsuit going on right now, for example, if she had done this part, and of course that's a really strange example because those are in your face, but you wouldn't even be able to know the property you were in to even look up whether or not you might have an issue. So that makes sense.
Yeah, well, and I think there was a shift. I mean, just video games at this point as well. I think financially are, far exceed the amount they pull in more money than, Hollywood, at cinema at this point, than actual film. Again, don't quote me on this. I could be totally wrong, but I think I'm right.
There's a lot of truth to that. Yeah.
And it's not just the games. People are now streaming it, or people are getting paid to do playthroughs and all these things. So it's just like it's gotten so huge. So there will be amendments coming up, I'm sure, to, especially with the larger union AAA companies, as far as, and with performance capture and all these things that require a lot more work. Video games are way more story driven. Thank you, The Walking Dead. But they're more character driven. There's more dialogue. There's more cutscenes. There's more. I mean, they've become huge performances, huge productions. So I'm sure there will be a shift within the union and how actors and the industry gets compensated and all that.
It's sort of exciting to see, and and he's obviously a film guy, but the thing is he's that type of performer like Andy Serkis, in the way that he's become a thing, and for mocap and voice acting and such, but he's become so recognized in it that it's opened a lot of those kind of doors, I would imagine.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. And it's and just going forward, and especially with more VR and stuff like that, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger in that direction.
Growing. Was there anything else you'd like to tell our folks out here today?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just so grateful. Is this involving getting to come to Kansas?
Absolutely. Come on to Wichita.
I'm super excited. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this when we were already live, but being from Springfield, Missouri, I'll be definitely closer to home. And I haven't done, weirdly, I think Ohio, but is that the Midwest? It's almost East Coast. It's kind of Midwest. I haven't done any conventions. I did do a convention in Springfield. I lied. Sorry. But not in Kansas.
Not in Kansas.
None in Kansas. And I definitely am so looking forward to meeting folks in my stomping grounds more so. Sadly, I've never really spent a lot of time. I don't actually know if I've physically spent time in Wichita, so I'm really looking forward to it. And just super excited. It's been crazy. It's been like, I don't know how many years, 2, 3, 1,000, whatever it is, since, the COVIDs and the closure of the normalcy and going to conventions and getting to physically be present with other humans. So this is, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to be doing more conventions before then. I know it's not until next October, but just to get back into the swing of being surrounded by awesome people, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited. I'm a hugger people. Beware. It's a Midwestern thing. It's Kansas.
It very much is, yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm really excited. And I'll be there with Gavin Hammond and I believe Sissy Jones as well.
Yeah, I was with Gavin a couple weeks ago. We did the same thing, and we ended up for whatever reason derailed on his time in bands opening for the Ramones, and I was like, oh no, we have to talk about the Ramones.
Gavin's got stories. He's one of my closest friends in the world. I am so grateful for that man. So, oh, actually, he and I did do it. No, that was in Kentucky. We're not. That's not the Midwest. Anyways, yeah. I mean, the fact that we're going to be at this together is like also just huge because, yeah, we're serious like BFFs. Well, he's one of the greatest things that have come from my career is definitely getting to meet, and make some of the best friends of my life. So I get to come to a convention with 2 of those. Okay, not gonna complain. Yeah.
Awesome.
And they're super just genuinely just awesome people.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for the time today.
Yeah, thank you.
And we will let you go.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.